What's up everyone? Welcome back to my channel. If you don't know, my name's Maya.
If I like it, then that's what I get. Yeah, I want it, I got it.
In today's video, we are going to be talking about my all-time favorite podcasts. I love podcasts, love them. I love them enough that I made my own podcast. We'll get into that later, but I love podcasts so much, so I'm so excited to share them with you guys. I've kind of figured out my big five, my top 5 podcasts that I always listen to every single day or whenever they're coming out. I love these podcasts. They're more so for lifestyle, motivation, young women, but boys, you can listen to them too, but you guys know what I mean. Yeah, let's get into the video. So the first podcast is gonna be Tori Dealing With by Tori Deal. So if you guys don't know who Tori Deal is, she is basically just a reality TV star, specifically from MTV. So she was on Are You The One? She was on The Challenge. I think she was on Are You The One, the competition part of it. I don't really know, but basically she's from reality TV. I found her from The Challenge, and then she came out with a podcast, and I was like, I have to listen to it. So the episodes are really short for her podcast, but I actually prefer them. So if you don't have 40 minutes a day to listen to a podcast, or an hour or 2 hours or whatever, you only have 15 minutes, this is a great one to listen to. And when I tell you, her topics matter. She talks about things that are important, but not in a weird way. When I say important, I mean she talks about trusting intuition, she talks about procrastination, she talks about manifesting, hard work, stress, anxiety, just Black Lives Matter, so important. She talks about all those types of things that I feel are important to me and that I really share the same values with, so that's why I really enjoy listening to her podcast. I also love this podcast because I always feel like I got something out of it after I listened to it. You know, there's those podcasts that you listen to and you're like, that was fun and I loved listening to it, but you didn't gain anything, but you didn't lose anything either, but it was just a fun listen. That is not this podcast. You are going to get something out of this, whether it be inspiration or whether you're shoot, I almost said shit. Whether you're shoot, I need to get my life together. Whatever the case may be, this podcast is going to get you off your butt. This podcast is going to make you want to do something. So I really love this podcast. So the first one I'm going to recommend, and one that I love, Tori Dealing With by Tori Deal. Podcast number 2 is going to be Related by Amanda and Carly Bible. So they're sisters. If you guys don't know who Carly Bible is, she's actually a YouTuber. She's been on YouTube for a really long time. And that's how I found out about the podcast. She has 6 million, 8 million, she has a lot of subscribers basically, and she turned it into a podcast with her sister. And the reason why I love listening to this one is because, again, they talk about real things. They're not just talking about cookie cutter things. They're not being quiet on it. They're not being censored. They just talk. I feel like podcasts are really when you get to know someone and kind of know more about them, and that's exactly what they do with this one. This podcast also makes me feel like I'm in the conversation. I feel like it's really girl talk, but also life updates, and I always find myself responding to what they're saying, not actually saying it out loud, but in my head I'm oh shoot, I agree, or I would say this, and this. It's just a really fun podcast, and it's one of those ones that's kind of lighthearted, so when you listen to it, you might not come out of it I'm so inspired to go run a mile, or whatever the case may be, you would with the Tori Dealing one or another one that I'm going to mention later. But I love this one because it's just chill. It's just a breath of fresh air, and you could tell that they're being so genuine, and you could tell they have a really great relationships. They're sisters, so it's just an overall really good podcast, and I love listening to it. The third podcast I'm going to recommend, and one that I love, I have to say this, my own podcast, Going Down in the DM. So I have this podcast, and it's with my best friend, Delaney Buckner. We started this a couple months ago. Love this podcast. I love doing the podcast. After we record the episodes and edit them, upload them, I still listen to these podcasts. So our podcast is basically, again, it's just a girl talk. We get on and we're hey, so what have you been up to? And we just start talking. Delaney and I are twin flames. If you guys listen to those episodes, you know what a twin flame is, you know why we're twin flames. So our conversations are so natural and fluid, and they really bounce off each other. So really love that. And like I said, yes, I am doing the podcast and I edit and post them or whatever, but I go back and listen to them later and I'm wow, we did a great job, or wow, this was such a fun conversation. The same way I feel about the other ones, I feel about this one, and that might be egotistical or biased or whatever because it's my own podcast, but I feel even if my name wasn't on this and it was Delaney and someone else, but that someone else was me and talking like me, I don't know if it's making sense, but I would really like it. So I'm not just saying it because it's mine, but I did have to add it in this list. So Going Down in the DM, one of my favorite podcasts. The next one, I have to talk about it. If I didn't talk about it, I would feel like I was cheating you guys out of a successful life, but it's called Don'ts Donuts, Dumbbells and Dreams by Angie Belmar. So although there's a bunch of episodes of her just like talking, giving like updates, doing fitness motivational things, you know, things like that, which again, I always listen to those, they're pretty long, but she recently just wrapped up her little 31-day grind. I think she called it the daily grind or something like that, but I listened to it for literally 31 days straight. Life-changing. She basically just did like 5 to 6 minute episodes every single day, and it started from like how to start, how to tackle your goals, fitness motivation, nutrition motivation, stress and anxiety motivation, support, like just 31 days of like stuff that you needed to hear. And if you listen to it consecutively for 31 days, like every single morning, you're gonna see effects, because what she's saying is so true. This podcast is more of like a tough love type of situation, so she's not always gonna say what you want to hear, but she says what you need to hear, which I really think is really cool. Also, I feel like I'm friends with her. Like, I don't actually know her. We've DM'd a couple times, but like, you know, whatever. We don't actually know each other, but when I listen to this, when I watch her YouTube videos, I'm like, I know this girl. Like, she's great. Like, Angie Belmar, if you're watching this, if you're gonna see this, like, you do a great job. You're really a personable person. You're really genuine. So 10 out of 10, recommend that podcast. One of my favorites, Donuts, Dumbbells and Dreams by Angie Belmar. The last podcast that I love, and you guys probably know about it, but it's just pretty basic, by Alicia Marie and Remy Ashton. So this, again, it's like another type of girl talk episode. I feel like they really take on the role of being everyone's like big sister. And again, they're super, super, super genuine. So if you guys like their YouTube videos, you will love the podcast. Because on YouTube, everyone, including myself, you know, we're a little more censored. We're a little less just like rambling on. You know, I'm sure we have our little points that we want to touch on and whatever. So you're not getting the full train of thought. But podcasts, that's exactly what it is. And that's exactly what they do. So I really love those episodes. They also talk a lot about the behind the scenes of YouTube and just being an influencer in general. And for someone like me who is striving for that and working towards that, I think it is so cool to listen to the behind the scenes of it, and to listen to people who have millions of subscribers, to people who have made it, to hear what actually goes down. You know, they talk about management and having a publicist and all those things that, you know, YouTubers need and that influencers get to eventually. And I just think it's a really cool podcast to listen to for so many reasons. But that is gonna bring me to the end of this video. So if you guys enjoyed, let me know if you guys listen to any of those podcasts. So comment down below, or tell me ones that you know. Just leave me a comment down below. I wanna talk to you guys. So all my socials will be right here on the screen, as well as in the description box down below. I post every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday at 12 o'clock. That's the end of this. But before you click out, make sure you watch the rest of my videos. They're pretty good. Okay, but that's gonna be the end of this. I'll see you guys next time, or if you listen to my podcast, I'll see you tomorrow on the podcast. Wednesdays at 5.